coming up on your left, you can see some fragments of silicon.
Ew.
Right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, our Galax and Petty fan. Right, let us get to the news. Petty, start us off this week.
Today, well, this has actually been a fairly interesting week for me. What was it, Monday? My mouse finally decided to kick the bucket.
Kick the button.
Yeah, I mean,
the button that might have caused it.
So, and unfortunately, they don't make my mouse anymore. I used to use a Razer Lance head.
Mm-hmm.
So, I decided that I was going to say screw it and get the Razer Naga Trinity. So, yay, more MMO buttons. So yeah, that's been an interesting ride to try and get used to. And I also got a Nest video doorbell thing. Just, it was on sale, and it's something that's useful for us in particular. So, yay! we finally put that in today. Shockingly easy. Granted, it's just the battery version, so we need to pop it off its little metal plate thing to charge it every few months.
Fun.
Yeah. Cause
That's one of the reasons why I don't like wireless mouses.
I mean, at least
better when they have the rubber wheels, the rubber balls inside. Those are the best.
Oh, I'll never miss those. I hated cleaning those.
Do you ever make your own?
Oh God, I'm having flashbacks. Help.
Someone was telling me that his mouse would break and he would make his own mouse ball with using what do they call those little melon scooper things?
Yep.
I guess
I never heard that before. That's pretty cool. It's very MacGyverish.
Yeah. But yeah, and I guess the other big thing is this weekend I'm going to be at a big Digimon tournament. So, yay! Well, we're going to be looking at almost 20 some odd people.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have that marked down in the calendar.
This is a Saturday thing, so
okay.
The other two is the pre-release for the next set coming out and the store championship tournament. Because those ones I doubt I'm going to be available to stream on those days.
Yeah, we got that marked down for the next week, the week of July 20th.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway.
And I think I'm good. Beat Ninja Gaiden. Well, Ninja Gaiden 3. Oh my God, why the hell did they release that? And I played a little bit of Far Cry 5. Not sure if I want to continue with it yet, but hey, it's on Game Pass, so not costing me any extra. And I guess next victim.
Oh, that'd be you, Galax.
Well, the air conditioner's broken at work again for the area my office is in, so that's fun. Luckily, it's not ridiculously hot here, but it still gets to be 80 degrees, so I've been using a fan. Let's see. I believe I mentioned before that I'm negative for COVID, even though some of my friends were positive last time I saw them, so thankfully they're getting better. But I'm hoping they can be tested before we have Pathfinder, or I want to hang out again. Even if they're feeling better, I'd prefer to have a confirmed negative test, you know?
That is understandable.
I mean, I'm living with my grandmother's living with us now, and she's 93. So the less germs I bring into the house, the better. Otherwise, not too much going on, I don't think. Me and Pettyfan finally figured out what was wrong with his ability to play Tabletop Simulator, so we got to try out our Digimon decks against each other.
Like the fated meeting.
Mm-hmm. Mine seems to do well against his, at least so far, but also his hand has been... I feel like I've been getting a little lucky, and he might have been getting a little bit unlucky.
I don't know what god I pissed off for this lack of drawing skill, but it needs to go fuck off.
I suspect it would even out some over time. And this Mac missed last Sunday, so we'll see how this Sunday goes. Or if he decides he needs to do stuff that actually makes money instead again. And the stuff for the D-Reaper deck for Digimon that I ordered is starting to come in, so that's good. Unfortunately, I discovered that I forgot to actually order 2 more of the Reaper, which is the boss monster card for the deck. So I put in an order for that. It's not expensive. It's like 20 cents, which is still like less than half. I think the Searcher is still going for fucking like $1.
Yeah, just because you need so many of them.
Because you need so many of it, and it's highly splashable in anything because it's colorless, and if you don't have one in play, you can pay it for 1. And it can't attack, but it can be rested by effects, and it can be deleted by effects that you can use for that, so... Anyway, and I think that's about it.
All right, it's my go. Yeah, it's been a busy week. Hell, Thursday was a very busy day. Like, let me see. So, first thing I did that morning was I went over to the ENT to get the neck mass looked at. Like, for those who might be tuning in,
Did they have to remove your neck?
I'm like, no.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm like, but anyway, for those who are just tuning in, for the past month or so, I've been dealing with this growth that has been protruding from my neck. The third doctor I've been to about it. Let's see. The good news is he said it appears and feels pretty benign. Like, and he's an ENT, so I think that carries a bit more credence. But so far, no doctor that I've been to has signaled the cancer bell. Like, but that wasn't what the majority of that meeting was about. Like, see, he suspects that it was an infection that has turned into a cyst. And that might have come from my ears because I had a deep ear cleaning. Like, yeah, this is a thing you apparently can get because, apparently my ears were filled with a lot of wax that was hard to come out. I think it took about maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get rid of it all. I'm like,
I've been there. Maybe not quite all the way there, but yeah, deep earwax sucks.
Well, like, has your doctor ever said that you were the toughest pair of ears that he ever worked on?
No.
That happened to me.
They have like thought they finished and then looked at it and had to go back in, but
yeah, I'm like, but yeah, my ears got cleaned. So the next step there is to go and get a CT scan, like, which is good because it's not a biopsy. It's not at this stage. But well, the CT scan's a bit on hold. I'll get to that. Like I said, a lot happened on Thursday because after that I had to go to the computer store because I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week or not, but my laptop had been giving me problems for about a week as it was reading 100% disk usage constantly. And yeah, it turns out that meant the hard drive was bad. Not exactly sure in what fashion, but the important thing is it was on its last legs. So it spent the 4th of July weekend in the computer shop being worked on. Yeah, obviously the holiday excluded. So I got it back on Tuesday. It's got a brand new 2 terabyte solid state drive. So, load times have been much less of a thing, let's say. And finally, I ended up changing my health insurance afterwards. Won't get into the details, but, things medically are already getting a bit expensive, and there was an opportunity to switch, and this offers better coverage, at least so I'm told. I'm just waiting for my new medical card, which I think is coming somewhere in the middle of the month. They said 10 days, but I'm not sure if that was business or just 10 days. So until I get that, I can't get the CT scan. And let's see. Also picked up a new fan since my old one died, at least one of my old ones. And a new pair of shorts. So in terms of actually playing games, played a bit of Duke Nukem 3D and Gunstar Heroes off the Sega Classics collection and delved a bit into this week's review games, but haven't had a ton of time for playing games because my the hard drive that was being worked on died in the middle of trying to transfer my Steam games from the old one to the new one. So I've been re-downloading them. I think it's been 2 days and I'm still doing that. This is what usually happens. And keep in mind, this is just a fraction of what I have on Steam because I'm nearing 2,500 games. It's like, I'm not sure if there's the commercial laptop drive available that could hold all my games. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so I believe that is my news for the week. So, merrily, we shall roll along to the interview portion for the broadcast. Admittedly, this is a last-minute guest change-up. The guest we had previously scheduled had to cancel out due to personal reasons. From what I gathered, it was like a death of a friend or a family member, something of that accord. That's been scrapped entirely because not going to be able to do that for the future. So I talked to my good friend here, Matt Barton of Matt Chat, and he is here with us this week.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's always good to have you, as infrequent as it can be.
About those shorts. I'm sorry to hear about your neck, man. I know that can't be comfortable no matter what it turns out to be.
It's definitely got its discomfort periods, but it's being looked at. That's the important part. It's like not leaving anything to chance here. But let's see. So, if I'm recalling, last time we had you on the program, it was in 2019 when you were rewriting your desktop and Dungeons book. And I suppose I could ask, how did that all turn out? Did the second edition sell better?
I think it's selling at a pretty good clip. One of the nice things that the publisher likes this kind of book because it doesn't really age as fast as books on programming or how to work with this version of Unity that's probably going to
I wrote this great manual on this program. Congratulations! In the time it took from that program coming out to you finishing the book on it, the program is now on the short list for being deprecated.
Exactly. Yeah, I have a friend who's always dealing with that problem. Because it takes about a year to write a book, most of the time, if you have a day job. So that can easily happen.
Like, yeah. I remember.
You should always wait till the end to take your screenshots.
Like,
the best part is when you take your screenshots and they've end up changing the program.
Yeah. It's an early beta. If you're covering an old Ultima game, doesn't matter.
Like, true. It's like the likelihood of those changing is far smaller. I won't say that they won't change if they're doing new re-releases. I mean,
yeah.
Got friends who work in that particular field, and like a good friend of ours, Ryan from Digital Eclipse, was telling us about changes they have to make to classic games due to copyrights, for example.
Oh, sure.
Like they're working on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection, and there's a whole bunch of things that they had to change or excise because like, for example, like Pizza Hut's not really interested in maybe having their ad space in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 for the NES, although they are doing the pizza promotion this time once again, which was apparently a complicated affair, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, so are you working on any new books?
I haven't thought about any. I'm doing some academic type stuff about constructed languages. I guess that's my current book project. I'm working on it with a linguist here at St. Cloud State. He's we both found a kind of a mutual interest in have you ever heard of conlangs, that term?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like Klingon and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try to write a book about that.
Galax, you're up. This is your field.
Now, I'm just going to say that my linguist friend knows way more about the linguistic side of it than me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot you have to take into account when you're trying to make up actual rules that are different from English.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's quite pumped about it. We've looked at all the ones that are out there. Was it Dothraki? He really likes that one. And we also like the one from The Expanse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's that called? Belter Loda, something like that.
I'm not familiar with The Expanse, but I believe you.
Well, that one's cool because it's. Have you seen 300 or the 100?
No, sorry, I don't watch much TV.
Well, anyway, but they both have these conlangs. They're kind of neat because they're not just completely made up. They sort of take.
Oh, they're like language evolution.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it just sci-fi languages you're looking at, or are you throwing in Esperanto into the mix?
I haven't thought about Esperanto.
Esperanto is, technically a conlang, but it's actually the goal of it was to make it out of the building blocks of existing, mostly Indo-European languages.
Right.
So that it would be, yeah.
Doesn't that one have sort of this goal of world peace or something like that? Or
that was part of the original goal. Yeah, it was supposed to be a language that can be like everyone in Europe's second language, so you could all communicate and work out, and theoretically work out all your conflict. Of course, that works exactly well until someone you didn't want to understand your insult understands it. But
it's an interesting goal.
Never frown on optimism.
I've often thought about something like that for games because people play. They have all different languages, and they're trying to get this game to an international audience. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if there was like this gamer language
Mm-hmm.
that all the gamers knew, regardless of your?
I mean,
To a certain extent, there is, and it's called English.
Well, yeah,
you're not wrong. But
Programming
there
for
have
non-native English speakers is bullshit and a half a lot of the time, because almost all programming languages that use any form of human readable thing are based on English.
Yeah, this is true.
Well, it's not just programming. To center it back to video games, I mean, decidedly less so, but because video games were first built in English, that does form a lot of the basis of video games as well. Like it's why you saw English letters and spelling in Japanese arcade games.
Yeah,
And it's just,
it
that's something-
saves space for one thing. But on the other
we
hand,
are talking
on the
about.
Huh?
Well, keep in mind we are talking about Japanese arcades. Remember,
Yeah.
Japanese characters can actually convey a lot more than English characters. So it wasn't exactly
but you need space for a lot more of them in the code.
Yeah, I'm talking
one of the
more on
Final
the
Fantasy
display side.
Onlines, or maybe a Fantasy Star Online. One of those had a kind of a special language they made just for the games, kind of complicated emoticon system, right? Of blinking on the details.
Sounds like a Fantasy Star thing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that'd probably be Fantasy.
I just thought
I know
that was
in
really
terms of-
cool. I think it's a neat idea.
Mhm. No, it is.
Now, whether it can actually ever work, who knows?
Well, to the thing where I said about the English being the international gamer language, have you heard about the thing from like last month or whatever about the French press or whatever insisting you stop using anglicisms to refer to people, so now in newspapers they have to talk about all those joueurs animateurs en direct on Twitch. Because that's the word for streamer in French, you see.
Oh my god! Seriously? Oh wow!
We'll have to take his word for it. Like,
I'd like to hear that word again. Can you say that again?
Joueur animateur en direct.
Ah, so romantic.
That's just
Can you
one
tell me-
example, but basically, they wanted to crack down on use of anglicisms in
yeah,
coverage of gaming stuff.
I do remember hearing about that. Like, but
And French isn't
Anyway.
the only European language with some significant linguistically conservative factors. Anyway.
You got me
I'm
thinking now about the French
pretty-
video games I've played over the years. Alone in the Dark, wasn't that made by a French developer?
Yes,
Might have been. I wonder if their games are as weird as their animation.
Oh,
now it's owned by the Swedish people. Like, but THQ Nordic owns Alone in the Dark now. Not sure why, but they bought it. Right. Anyway, like in terms of constructed languages, Panzer Dragoon comes to mind. Because that had a constructed language.
I should. Yeah, my brother likes that game. He could probably just talk to him.
Yeah.
What
Got
was
some
that
friends who worked on the remake of the Panzer Dragoon game.
One of the distinctions they make is whether there's enough there for you to create your own expressions.
Yeah, it's
Right.
really easy to make just a few phrases and not
Yeah.
worry about the greater construction.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
I
have to be
couldn't
able
say.
to say things that nobody's written down before, basically.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's any like video game born languages that are that robust. Wouldn't surprise me if there are, but like just nothing.
The Elder Scrolls guy, remember him, Lawrence Schick, I think is his name. I don't know if you saw that interview I did with him, but he mentioned that they were going to do a conlang for that game, but it just got scrapped due to lack of budget, I think.
Like,
Or there wasn't enough interest in it at the end. But
yeah.
it's pretty cool that there was such a project.
Anyway, McQuirk, or however I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but he's asking.
Yeah, I see him in the chat, but I can't log in. This has been driving me crazy. I have to have my phone to like authenticate my Twitch thing. So I'm sitting here watching these chats and totally unable to communicate.
Yeah, Twitch is not the best.
Like, have any of you read much about the constructed languages of Tolkien's Middle Earth?
Oh,
like,
you got to read those.
Well, yeah, it's either that or Klingon. That's the number one fantasy sci-fi conlang.
Oh, Klingons probably. Well, I don't know because Dothraki now might have even eclipsed that one.
I don't know if they've published as much like the friggin' Sindarin dictionary or whatever, but Tolkien did a lot of language work.
Well, the question is there a Duolingo Elvish?
Let me check.
So
there are at least two different Elvish languages.
But I was going to say about Middle Earth, I just rewatched. I've been rewatching the Peter Jackson films, and I got the expanded versions. So I'm like seeing all this content that wasn't in the theatrical version. I just happen to notice because I'm kind of hypersensitive about conlangs now. That there's a whole lot of the stuff that was cut out of the theatrical stuff that had the conlangs in there. I'm like, what's up with that? That would have been really cool to have those in the. I mean, I realize they were already pretty long, but I mean, it would have been pretty cool to have those in the theatrical versions.
I mean, those were already clocking in at 3 hours, so
yeah. I mean,
yeah. But anyway, so shifting over to Matt chats, I've noticed that your format has changed quite precipitously in the intervening years. Like, they're a lot less frequent, but they're a lot longer.
Yep.
You know, like, was there any particular reason why the average Matt Chat episode these days clocks in about 3 hours?
I've gone back and forth. I tried different things. I kind of like one of my favorite podcasts is the Hardcore History podcast, Dan Carlin. And he got me kind of thinking about that because he does like it's like 8-hour podcasts sometimes, So I thought that was pretty impressive. And some of the other ones.
I have to leave in bathroom breaks for that.
You just pause it. Do whatever you need to do. Come back and pick it up where you left off. All right.
Duolingo has Klingon and High Valyrian, but not any of the Tolkien languages.
Oh, that is unacceptable.
High Valyrian is the Song of Ice and Fire one, I believe.
Tolkien really got that whole party started. I mean, they should definitely be.
It might be a copyright thing. I mean,
probably.
That's another thing. That's another thing about, especially franchise constructed languages. They're kind of owned by a company.
And that was an interesting thing about Klingon. There were some fans were trying to make a fanfic using the Klingon language, and the Paramount, I guess, went after them. But I think they actually, I don't know if they won in court or I guess they had a good enough case that they dropped the suit, but they basically said it would be okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's still, like you say, kind of a gray. Maybe it'll go to the Supreme Court one day. Can you use a constructed language? Can anybody own a language? That's the question.
I would not trust, anything with the Supreme Court we have now. But
I'd rather they be deciding issues like this,
Yeah, but that's not the world we currently live in. But
can we jump to that world line? I will gladly join you all.
Yeah, that's conversation for a political show when we decide to have that. Anyway, getting back to what you were saying about the length of your show, you're applying the principles of hardcore history. Exactly.
Well, when I used to do, when I first started these things, YouTube limited your videos to like 10 seconds. I mean, you could basically have a dog on a skateboard go across the screen once, and that was the limit of your time. Then they yeah. Well, I remember when they upped it to 10 minutes. Like, that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got kind of used to working with those really short videos, and it was okay if you want to do like a quick and dirty, oh, here's this, Ultima 2, blah, came out in such a year. It didn't give you any space to really dive into the game. So when it started giving you those unlimited times, just kind of got spoiled with that, I think.
I mean, yeah.
Nobody really. The biggest complaint, the most common complaint I've gotten about the show was back when I was cutting up the interviews. And I always get people that would say, just play the whole, I want to hear the whole interview in its entirety. I don't want it to be edited. Don't cut anything out. So, I mean, now that I've this format, I don't get that complaint anymore. I do sometimes get the complaints. Why don't you? It's like the opposite. Now that I'm doing the long ones, they're like, why don't you make them in short and chop them up? So, you can't win.
Well, I mean, that's an audience in general. Like, nobody is going to be happy with whatever change you make, regardless. It's like some people are going to prefer the shorter, some are going to prefer the longer.
I feel like most people that watch Match Out, they probably play, they have it on, they watch it a little while, they leave it on in the background, they're doing other stuff, they come and go. I don't really know how many people are sitting there riveted to like every minute.
Like, I imagine a lot of people use them as background noise.
Yeah, quiet the baby down, put on a Match Chat, she's sound asleep. Oh, thank you, Matt.
And this is how we indoctrinate the youth. I mean, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, slip a little indoctrination in there. Yes. You will prefer turn-based. You will prefer turn-based games. Yes.
Well, I suppose the important question is, are you happy with how long the show is?
I kind of like to set a new record. One of these days I'm going to have like that 12-hour long. Maybe I could just go for like, how long can I keep this up? Could I?
I mean,
could there be like this marathon 24? Maybe I could go for like 2 straight days. It'd have to be a great game, but
I mean, Bethesda's putting out Starfield in a couple of months.
Well, there you go. Now, I can sink a lot of time into those.
Oh, no. That got delayed to 2023.
You get me in a game of Stellaris, and I can be there for days on end.
Yeah, Stellaris. Really, any Paradox interactive grand strategy game can fit the bill here. Like, get a game of Crusader Kings 3 going. Like, there's actually a fair amount of games that can, stretch into the hundreds of hours, or get into an MMO.
Daggerfall. You could play Daggerfall, I guess, forever.
Yeah, you could. Like, that's the one with the random generation, isn't it?
Yeah, the procedurally generated game universe.
Yeah, which was definitely unique for, what was it, 97, 98?
Yeah, that's still, I mean, even looking back on it, that's pretty doggone ambitious.
Yeah, it's just procedural generation's a lot more common. Granted, not so much in the AAA space, but the indie scene, oh yeah, we got procedural generation for days.
Remember Todd Howard? I guess he's still there at Bethesda, right? Is he still on the Fallout scene? Yeah, I've talked to him a few times off and on over the years, and I remember he was, sometimes he's really critical of procedurally generated stuff, and then other times he's like, it's the most brilliant thing ever.
Well,
I mean, it depends on how it's employed. It's a
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think you probably wouldn't want to use it for your main quest line.
like
People have tried.
Again, it depends on what procedures you use.
right, like look at Returnal. Not an RPG, but that is a AAA action game that's using the principles of an indie roguelike to great effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um,
You see a lot of games use it pretty well with loot systems, and you don't maybe spice up the monsters and do some things with the levels so you never feel too overpowered.
that
Daggerfall is its own thing. Kind of like the old rogue games.
well, I mean, those can be split off into two branches: the rogue like and the rogue light. Like, that is something that is either like rogue or is a lighter version of rogue. Like those are the ones that have the perma upgrades. And then there's the rogue likes, which plays like rogue but has the permanent stat boost and shit like that.
I thought you were talking about Rogue Ale, like there was a Rogue Light. Not nearly as good as the. I've never heard that distinction before, Adam. That's pretty good though. That's useful.
Like I said,
I'm not sure I agree with all of it, but that is the way I understand that a lot of people use it.
Yeah. Once again, we cover the indie scene usually, and it comes up a lot, either in the games we review or the people we interview. It's like,
are people, do they like it, or is it like a compliment, or do they not? Is it a neutral thing, or is it an insult?
I think it's a neutral thing, mostly to try to help people find the right kind of thing, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a neutral thing. Like nobody's ever gotten upset that we asked the question: is it a roguelike or a roguelite? Like,
how dare you?
Because they are using procedural generation, and there is actually a fine distinction between using the principles of rogue and using a lighter version of that, because the original rogue had no permanent upgrades, to say
and
the
also
least.
had a non-negligible chance of you accidentally running into a randomly generated goblin with a randomly generated wand of death and a randomly generated high enough skilled thing to use it on the first floor.
Yep. Like,
part of the magic.
Actually,
it's a Telengard like.
Matt, have you ever covered the original Rogue game?
Yeah, I must have. I've talked to the developers. Glenn Witchman. Who's the other guy? I don't think I talked to the other guy. Michael Toy, I think's his name. No, I haven't. I did talk to Glenn though. He went on to work at Zynga. Not sure what he's doing these days.
I couldn't say. I know Rogue got the original Rogue got published to Steam a few years back. And, like, everyone ran a news article like the original Rogue is being classified as a roguelike on Steam. But I mean, that's you.
Oh, that's just postmodern.
Well, I mean, if I had to describe a cube as being shaped like something, I would probably say it was cube-shaped.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Rogue. It is interesting that we haven't come up with a better name for it all than roguelike or roguelite.
Well, they keep fucking trying to replace Metroidvania, and I've yet to hear one that actually sticks.
Well, it's like you could do a Telengard like.
Yeah,
some of those other games from around that era.
Well, it's not just a matter of introducing the term. It's like it has to be accepted by people.
Oh,
it's like see the platform fighter. I don't think I didn't hear anyone call that until Nickelodeon All Stars used that term. But it's
and they have enough corporate corporate clout, nothing to do with German cabbage. That they would actually have recourse if someone compared their game to another game, descriptively. And also, Nintendo might not be happy if they said that our game is a Smash-like. So,
I guess, but
That's a good point.
Nintendo themselves have used the term Metroidvania on their website.
Oh,
Even though-
that's interesting.
well,
Well,
they own one of them.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Like, in like a lot of official purposes, they won't use the actual term Metroidvania. Like I've seen like Metrovania and derivatives therein because the word Metroid is copyright. Like, I think that's another reason why people are trying to replace the Metroidvania designation. I know it's also really kludgy if you don't understand what it means, but
Well, like for Bloodstained, Iga wanted to put his name in it and also remove the part that Nintendo owns. And then they've tried things like search action and things like that, but none of them have really stuck.
well, okay, Matt McMuscle's coining the phrase search action doesn't really preclude a worldwide revolution of the usage of the name.
I
Like,
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Metroidvania.
I didn't know that was
it's
him,
fun
though.
to say. I mean, that's the part of it too, right? Roguelike, Metroidvania. These are fun.
Yes, I suppose they are, but it's as opposed to other genres that had this kind of designation, like Doom.
Diablo-like. What about Diablo-like?
I'm like,
That's just like some version of Western RPG dungeon crawler or
Well,
something.
right now, in fairness, I think that phrase is a little bit nuclear wasty.
but yeah, Diablo definitely has been replaced with the term dungeon crawler, like, and like Doom clones, we call that first person shooters, GTA clones, open world games. So sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. Like, and I guess this all ties back to the whole language discussion because we are talking about the peculiarities of language and the vernacular.
What's
But-
that word that people use to describe some games, like the old Dungeon Master game? And it's like bobber or blobber or something like that. I see it every now and then.
Bounder?
Well, it's like something bopper, blobber, bobber
I'm like-
games. It's just every time I see that, I'm like, what the heck is that?
Or also
You're just making me think of all the early terms for online
Blobbers.
text-based games.
It's
Yeah.
blobber.
I've never heard that
like
one.
another interesting quirk is genres have had different designations depending on the area you lived on or lived in. Like platformers. You all call them platformers these days, but if you were in the UK, you called them jump and runs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was a UK thing.
Yeah.
Blobber is a slang term that is used loosely to refer to first-person party-based RPGs in which the player-controlled party is not represented as a distinct. So it's a first-person game where all of your party just sticks together as a blob.
A blobber.
Yeah, that's. I guess it's reasonably coherent. I hadn't heard of it before, though.
Well, I'm glad that you gave the definition.
Hmm.
I've seen that word. I guess it's useful for some folks. It's kind of useful if you really like that sort of game. I guess you want others like it.
Yeah.
You were making me, because it sounded like because it was blobby. You were making me think of like the terms like mud and muck and all of those things
I am mud.
that they used to
Oh,
use
yeah.
for text-based
Moos.
multiplayer things. Yeah,
It's not a mud. It's a moo.
which are all acronyms of varying. I mean, multi-user dungeon is not, but some of them are a little bit forced.
Yeah. I'm like, Anyway, getting back to the Matt Chat program,
I
who
could
have
play. Okay.
who have you interviewed lately?
Happy Keller was my latest interview. He
Is that
worked on
coming
a
up?
lot of EA sports games. And
Oh yeah, Coach Happy Keller.
yeah, coach is kind of for fun. He actually is credited as like head coach in a couple of those EA.
Right.
He did a bunch of different sports, PGA golf, something like one of those big golfing games from back in the 90s. Did a lot of Sega Genesis stuff.
Mm.
He was a fun
EA,
guest.
yeah, EA Sports. More than likely, you'd be working on the Genesis. Like I know they did Super NES games, but EA was really known for their Genesis titles.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't know that I learned from talking to him was that EA, they got kind of heavily invested into the Commodore Amiga when that came out, and of course the computer didn't last very long. But apparently the Sega Genesis was close enough that they could, the stuff that they worked on for the Amiga, they could easily move on to the Genesis, and that's how they were able to get those games out so fast.
Yeah,
I'm
I
kind of
think-
paraphrasing, but I mean, it's basically the idea I took from it.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, it has a Motorola in it.
Yeah, that's
Which-
it.
Yeah, which is the same chipset that's in the Amiga. Like, not quite as prevalent as the Zilog Z80, but still got around. Versus like all the Nintendo stuff, which was a lot more esoteric for Japanese developers. There's a whole series on YouTube about all this stuff, like on the channel Low Spec Gamer. But anyway, and I see you're still covering CRPGs as your main focus.
Yeah, it's kind of my niche. Happy was kind of an anomaly. It's kind of hard to, when you do one thing for a long time, you sort of get picked up by all of the RPG websites. So when I do a video that's not about RPGs, it doesn't get hardly any attention, right? Because most people don't tune into Matt Chat expecting to see something about sports. So I guess in the one, it's kind of one of those positives and also a negative. But
I mean, you found your niche, but you also get pigeonholed.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm been typecast now.
Yeah. I think the last CRPG we looked at was Elex 2. Which flew under the radar because that got released round time of the Elden Ring Vortex.
Oh, yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever played the any of the Elex games?
Never.
They're from Piranha Bytes, who did like Risen and Gothic.
Okay, well that's I'm intrigued. Go on.
They're sci-fi.
Okay, yeah. I was just looking at the sci-fi. There's not a whole lot of those out there. Is it kind of actiony or is it more?
If you've played other Piranha Bytes RPGs, you'll definitely see the similarities. Although this has a lot more jetpack in it. They're really proud of their jetpack. And I also did get a copy of Expedition Rome, but I had to scrap that because the game took over like 10 minutes to load. Hoping the new hard drive will fix that. But are there any CRPGs you're looking forward to?
What am I most looking forward to? Well, I'm gonna blank out on the name right off. Come back in like just 2 minutes with that. Oh, well, having a brain freeze. There was some game I was going to talk about, and I even thought of. I want to play the Celasta, they got that expansion out.
Mm.
That's one of them that springs to mind. I've
Uh,
kind of been in a bit of a, just going to get the name for you. But anyway, I've been kind of in this, I've been working on my own game project. So that's kind of been sucking up all my gaming time. But they've got one, no, it's Lost Valley, I think is what it's called. But I'm pretty pumped about that. And there's probably some obvious ones I'm just blanking on.
Hmm. I mean, I can't really think of a CRPG that has a lot of buzz on it right now that isn't, Starfield. Like, mainly because like Obsidian and In Exile, their next RPG projects are really way out.
Kind of curious.
Like
I'm not sure if this new Baldur's Gate game, I haven't checked up to see what the status is on that lately, but I was kind of keeping an eye on that. Just because it's Baldur's Gate.
I haven't heard too much about it. Like, but then again, it's in early access, so it's kind of just chugging along. It's like exists alongside Torchlight 3. Like, oh yeah, that's a thing that exists.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm much more into classics than the cutting edge stuff.
Baldur's Gate 3, it does have a about as good CRPG pedigree as you're going to get these days with Larian developing it.
Yeah, I mean, there were some complaints that it was it looked a little too much like Divinity.
Like, oh right, Beandog put out their latest RPG, Myth Force, which is very different than a Baldur's Gate game, let's say. Though I'm not surprised if the universe missed this because they decided to release this on the Epic Game Store only, of all things. Like, well, that
only or only for now.
Presumably only for now. Like,
okay.
Usually those things spend about a year on the Epic Game Store before they move to platforms that people actually use. For things other than Fortnite or Rocket League. Anyway, so we are kind of running low on time here, and we have to shift over to the next segment. But you did mention that you are working on a actual game project, and we definitely like to have you back on the program to hear about that, if that's not too much of an issue.
Sure. I mean, I've got a lot of work to do on it. It's probably about 25% done.
So we could have you on September 14th, like, to talk about it.
Oh, Expeditions Rome. Yeah, okay. I got that one too. I'm definitely going to be getting into that one soon. I really liked some of their previous ones.
Yeah, I haven't picked up the other Expedition games yet. Like, just not gotten around. I mean, there's always games that I haven't gotten around to playing or picking up.
You mean there's games in your Steam library that you haven't played?
In fairness, a lot of the time it's because I buy like humble bundles for like 2 games in the bundle because the entire bundle of 15 or 20 games costs less than those 2 games separately normally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's funny when you go on Steam and you're like, oh, that game looks cool. Maybe I should buy that. And then you're like, oh, I actually own that?
I have looked at my Steam library and I go, when did I buy this?
Every time I go on Steam.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I already bought that. Yeah. It's like, look, once again, Steam is a ever expanding pit of games in more ways than one. Now, not. I mean, like we had a game dev person on the program recently who actually quit making games for Steam because it was too saturated and shifted over of all things to the Sega Genesis. Small market these days, but a dedicated one.
Well, that's the thing. If you have it could be a smaller audience, but if it's a really dedicated one, you might actually be just as well off. Yeah, that would be my fear. You put a game out on Steam, but it just gets lost in the, how many new games comes? Yeah, there's probably at least a couple dozen games come out every month in each category.
Well, I mean, I just watch all the retro FPS people I watch just groan in agony having to cover all of the Steam Next Fest demos and stuff. Like, looking at you, Stevie.
I feel better though looking at this Steam page. I went to like the best selling CRPGs, and they're all ones I've played. Most of these are older though. I'm kind of surprised that they're still.
Well, Wasteland, I mean,
Wasteland 3. When did that come out? 2020. So that's like the #1 game right now.
Wouldn't surprise
me. Can't be. Why would that be? I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good game, but I'm kind of surprised it would still be so.
Well,
up on the list.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, there hasn't really been a CRPG that's had that kind of buzz. An original CRPG, I don't think, since Disco Elysium.
Yeah, that one's really popular. Oh, Pillars of Eternities. I really like that Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous game.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
I love that.
I play actual Pathfinder, and some of my friends, at least one of my friends in my game, has played that and liked it a lot. Unfortunately, I have not had much time to actually play it. And I get concerned that it would... The fact that things work a little bit differently would bug me.
Yeah. But I think it taught me... I haven't really played... I didn't start playing tabletop role-playing games until fairly recently. And I feel like playing Pathfinder, I learned a lot. Even though it's its own thing. Just a lot of the similar concepts, just a sort of way of thinking, helped me with playing the tabletop stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's I don't know. I haven't ever played the Pathfinder game, so you're hearing that it's not very accurate, or it's not.
No, it's almost okay. Well, it includes a few things from second edition. That second edition wasn't out when it came out, but came out shortly afterwards. So it includes a few changes from second edition, and then there are just a few other things that work slightly differently. I think it's mostly accurate. Huh. I mean, aside from the fact that you're not playing with an actual team of friends, you're playing with a team of computer players.
Yeah, I don't know what. I just find that sort of things fascinating, just as the different kinds of game designers and what they're able to implement, because it is such a big... You always think it's, just take the tabletop game and put it on the computer. There's so many things.
So the problem you will always have with that is that there is no particularly good way on the tabletop computer to program in the things like, I don't know, I'll cast grease on the stack of dishes on the shelf above the guard.
Doing a thing that'll make the DM want to strangle you to death.
Yeah, it's not even stuff that'll make the DM want to strangle you to death. Just there are realms of creativity.
I'll give you an example
that you can't program into a thing without taking into account a much more advanced physics simulation than the game can handle.
Like in our tabletop game, we've got a character. One of our players has an immovable rod, and he's always coming up with, fun stuff with that rod. But if you try to put that in a computer game, I mean, think about the You're going to have to dedicate a lot of code just for that one item.
Yeah, because it's a small thing.
Yeah.
But then it has the rule of, okay, yeah, it's a DC 40 strength check to move it 5 feet. So what does a, like, foot-long, inch-thick rod in the air do? It's a thing that there are all kinds
move?
Right. There are all kinds of creative utility things you can use that kind of thing for. You can use it as like a short ladder. You can use it as a pretty much blocking anything. You could shove it in the mouth of a monster and make it so that not only it can't close its mouth, it also can't move.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another good example: mimics. Like in video games, what are mimics? Like they're always treasure chests. They're always gonna treasure chests. But in an actual tabletop game, they can be anything.
Yeah, they are often in the form of a treasure chest, but they can also be other kinds of furniture. They can be really big and be a house. They could be really small and be like a statue on a table.
Guys. I don't want our DM to get any ideas.
And also, fun fact about mimics: they're about human intelligence.
Yeah.
Make a Twinkie mimic. Oh my god.
Yeah, mimics are intelligence 10. They are as smart as humans. So that's way more than, oh no, you opened the box and it was a monster. They're also usually not evil. So
They're just real hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry. Yep. They are often used as servants by evil things that can, afford to feed them.
Have you read that book, The Monsters Know What They're Doing?
I don't have it yet, but I want to get it really bad.
Yeah, this conversation kind of reminds me of that. I haven't read it either, but it's on my book list.
Yeah.
Because I think he talks about Keith Amon. I think he talks about some of the similar sorts of stuff.
Or we got the gelatinous cube, which is genetically modified for graph paper.
The gelatinous cube is funny because it's just a almost invisible 10-foot cube of gel that is digestive. I think the going theory of how this actually came to exist in the world is that they were actually designed as like dungeon Roombas. Because they fill the thing and move along and just dissolve organic detritus.
Yeah, that's how you know there's one around, because they're like, the dungeon walls are really clean here.
The real thing, the real thing you do is you get a ring of protection from acid, and you give that to a goblin or something, and then give it a rod of slime controller that you make or something, a custom, or give it levels in Druid that gets slime empathy or something, and then have it ride around inside one.
Well, or that's the maybe sort of there's thing there that would be hard for the computer game, but the tabletop it works well.
Yeah. All you need is a ring of sustenance is like 1,000 gold or 2,000 gold, something of protection from acid enough to not take like, what do they only do? They only do like 10 acid damage or a turn or something, so it wouldn't require a very high level of protection.
Yeah. The overall point is that a computer has yet to even remotely capture the spontaneity and creativity that a human game session can bring, for good or for ill. On the other hand, I've yet to meet a CRPG that was petty as my Rift game back in high school. Like, decided to kill my character just because I shot his ambassador. Like, look, my character had a low intelligence,
I finally remembered the game that I was having the brain fart about. Scald.
Spelled
Scald.
how?
Skald.
Mm. How very extreme.
I mean,
It's a retro game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scald against the Black Priory.
Yeah, definitely gonna be playing that when it comes out.
Yeah.
Which
Again,
it's not actually out, is it? No, it says.
It's still in planned release date this year. Looks like.
Yeah, it's still
Assuming
out
I
of
found the
contract.
right one. I posted in general. Is it this one?
No, I played the. He has a demo out. I think you can. I don't see the demo here anymore. But yeah, he's even got a character in there that looks like me.
Yeah, that might have gotten taken down because after Steam Next Fest. Like, I know some devs did that and some did not. Like, last week's guest decided to keep their game demo up. So if you want to play a game of Soko chess, you can do that. But yeah,
I played the demo though, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm really excited to play this.
Mm-hmm.
Not for everybody, but for a certain demographic.
right.
Anyway, I didn't mean to cut whoever was off off.
That's fine. Like, I guess we can talk a bit more since we do not have time to get into Sonic Origins this week.
Yeah, because I have my own axe to grind on that motherfucker.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt they're going to fix all the issues in a week. It'd be impressive if they did, but they're not.
Yeah.
Well, what are some non-CRPGs that you're looking forward to,
Upcoming games?
if any?
What was that one? Turbo. I should have prepped a little bit of it. If there's a game that has a rat in it.
Like, not sure that narrows it down.
Yeah, I still need to play this Tales of Iron game. Yeah, I tell you that I got such an extensive backlog I need to get to.
Once again, I can relate, though.
And I also done a bunch of Kickstarters and things. Whenever those games come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the System Shock remake is coming in here soon.
Yeah, that's another one I'm gonna have to be checking that out.
Like, I know that Night Dive has ceased with or locked in the rewards a few months ago. So, also they just put out the re-release of Blade Runner, Enhanced Edition, which I'll probably pick up in a few months. But not the highest priority. Anyway, so are there any upcoming interviews that you have planned for Matt Chat?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to George McDonald early next week. You probably want to know what he's done. So, he's done a lot of gold box games. Curse of the Azure Bonds, Gateway to the Savage Frontier. He's worked on Eye of the Beholder series. See what else he's done here. It's like he's done some football games. Star Control 3.
I'm impressed he put that on his resume.
Star Control 3?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've actually played Star Control 3. Is it really bad or something?
It's contentious, let's say. Not the least of which, since that was all of that was created without the original creators' inputs.
Oh yeah, I was looking for like Paul and Fred.
Yeah.
I don't
In
think
fact,
they were.
yeah, that was central to the lawsuit. Basically, they owned all the. Yeah, there was a lawsuit over that. Star
Oh,
Control.
it's all new to me. So there was a lawsuit.
There was a lawsuit. Short version is the creators own the story bits and the characters and all that stuff from the first two games. At the time, I want to say it was Atari or Take Two. I forget who, but they ended up owning the name Star Control and the stuff they created for Star Control 3. Like, though things though these days the legal troubles around Star Control are revolving around current owner Stardock and all the drama there, like drama around Stardock, shock upon shocks.
I wonder if George would be willing to talk about that, because that would be.
I'm not sure how much they could talk about that. Now, like I said,
decades at this point. You think there's still a?
I don't know. Like, legal proceedings can be thorny. Hell, there are people who are still under NDA about things decades later. Like, see, anyone else?
Oh, wait, Evan. What's his last name? Evan. You got me thinking about Star Control 3. I'm gonna ask George about that. It'd be like, oh my god, I can't talk about that.
No, I'm talking about the
Evan,
like the creation. Like,
I did talk to Paul Ritchie and Fred.
Yeah.
Evan Robinson. What's his name? He's the one Susan Manley's been helping me find people.
Yeah.
She's got a lot
I guess
of
a recommendation.
This guy did Mail Order Monsters. Or he was an artist on Mail Order Monsters, and what else? Looks like mostly sport. Oh, do you remember Stuart Smith's Adventure Construction set?
Yes.
Looks like he worked on that. No, it looks. Oh, he also has something to do with Star Control. The first one, though. I'll get those guys in.
Yeah,
those are two off the top of my head that are coming up soon.
Yeah. I guess we could recommend is David Brevik, who we had on recently, twice this year. He's like the co-creator of Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo
did a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, did a whole bunch of stuff.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to talk to him. I've been wanting to have him on for a while. I thought I had him on, or I think I was talking to him at one point. I don't know what happened. Maybe he was too busy at that time. You talked to him about the new Diablo? You talked to him about the newer stuff?
No, we talked about him first time this year was his in his capacity over at Skystone Games. And last time was over It Lurks Below, which is a game he created under his Graybeard Games. But he's reachable over Twitter. Just give him a DM there and he'll respond.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good guest to have, actually. Because I don't know.
I mean, like we talked about
Diablo.
I know we've had like done a couple. Though, like Max Schaefer was back in 2010. Like that was like one of the first video game interviews that we ever did. Like Right. So we are running low on time, so we'll cut things off here. But Matt, if you're up to it, we can have you back on the program on September 14th.
You already
talk
said
about,
that, and he said yes.
Well, I'm like, right. Sorry.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll have you back then. And in the meantime, Matt's YouTube channel is Matt Chats. You can find all of his, latest goings on there. And yeah, this will about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. The week ahead,
you,
we
guys.
do have a new episode of No problem. We do have a new episode of Moonhawk Studios Presents happening in about 15, 20 minutes, which is why we have to cut things off here. No guest for that program because the guest there had to shift things due to some personal reasons. Anyway, we do have a Friday show happening this Friday morning. Let me get to the right place. We'll be having some combination of our good friend Maciek and the lead developer of Food Truck Empire, if I'm remembering correctly, Bartek Zonka. Polish names are really hard for me. Now, our friends over at Movie Games SA and Pixel Crow, I'll probably have them introduce themselves. And on the Sunday game reviews, we'll be reviewing Neko's Secret Homecoming, Faircroft's Antiques, Treasure of the Traffenberg's Collector's Edition, Captain Brave, A Brave New World. No, that is not a mispronunciation. That's how it's spelled. And Dokuro. And if you enjoyed our interview here tonight and wish to keep abreast of when we go live again, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be informed. And until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.